Welcome to Gospel Tangents, the best source for Mormon history, science, and theology. I'm Rick Bennett.
No, you're not. You're president. What does the future of Mormon history look like? Steve Pynakker is the evangelical host of Mormon Book Reviews, and he asked me that question. And so we'll talk about what has surprised us and what he thinks we have looking forward to in the future of Mormonism. Check out our conversation.
So here we are. We're 20 years into the 21st century. The future was the year 2000, of course, growing up, right? And so we're 20 years into the 21st century. We're getting close to, 200th anniversary of the church and of course, the 200th anniversary of the first vision. So as we enter into this new time period, now that we are in the information age and people are becoming informed what's on the internet and the church is publishing the gospel topics essays, what does the future of Mormonism look like to you?
I'm a historian, not a future teller.
Well, okay, all right. But based on history, so I mean, what do you think? So, like, the history and the history of religion and stuff like that. Do you have any inkling where you think this is going? Do you think there might be like some kind of turn that you wouldn't have expected, something down the road that you didn't see coming, or?
I mean, it's like my March Madness bracket. I'm terrible at picking.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Loyola beat Illinois today, so
yeah, I saw
a lot
that.
of people's brackets.
Yeah, that busted a lot of brackets. So, I mean, just the stuff that's happened the last 5 years has been a surprise to me. 2-hour church now instead of 3. That's been a surprise. What they're doing to the Salt Lake Temple is horrible, if you ask me. And the Manti Temple, I'm very disappointed to hear about that. We're killing our own history. Why would we do that? I think President Hinckley would be rolling in his grave to find out what we're doing there. To take out those beautiful murals that we spent so much time and effort and money, and that to me that's very disappointing. But I'm not the prophet, so above my pay grade. But the combining of elders and high priests, I would never have predicted that. I remember I walked in late to that meeting with my son, and I was like, did they just dissolve the high priest quorum? The guy's like, yeah. And I was like, wow. So President Nelson's definitely got his surgeon's knife out, and he's cutting out what he thinks is garbage. So I don't know. I wouldn't have predicted all the stuff, many of the things that Elder Nelson or President Nelson has done. And I have no idea who's following. We don't have any other surgeons in the quorum. so maybe it won't change much. But yeah, it's future telling is very hard. So
I can imagine. What's that?
I wish I could answer that better.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I knew that was kind of throwing a curveball at you a little bit there, but yeah, I feel the same way. I kind of think that we're going to see continued growth in the third world, like with religion in general. You'll see it in the Mormonism, everything like that. I kind of feel like maybe we'll see evangelicals and Mormons start to maybe work together a little bit more, because they'll feel that they're maybe a little under siege, perhaps. But I also think the one thing, I just say I'm a very unique evangelical, so I'm not the typical one. But as I watch these podcasts or talk to different people, restoration branches, or watch faithful podcasts, very conservative ones, and I'm sitting there and I'm listening to them, and I'm realizing these are evangelicals. They talk just like them. They have some of the same fears, some of the same things that motivate them. Some of their same views are so there seems to be so much overlap between what I see between many Mormons and evangelicals that I wonder if it's possible that we could find a way. Now I have to tell you, I have just a few people that I've told. I literally live in a Christian community where it's full of retired missionaries, pastors, people who had radio programs, televangelists. I mean, the whole gambit of evangelicalism is right outside of my door. And I've only told a handful of people this because I think a lot of people would be very concerned about what I'm doing. But I'm hoping that something of what I'm doing might be the start of building something that so that we can just break down these barriers that are between us, and that we can engage each other as brothers and sisters.
Well, I respect what you and Richard Muau are doing. My view, and this is a little bit political, and I don't mean to go that far, but Jerry Falwell in the 1980s, with the moral majority, he tried to get a link between Mormons and evangelicals, and he was successful, but especially in the 1980s under Reagan. But it seems lately, and I believe Jerry Falwell did that with evangelicals kicking and screaming, and we don't want Mormons to help us. But Jerry understood that with certain things we could get some stuff accomplished. But I look at people like Robert Jeffries, and those sorts of people that they'll vote for Donald Trump, who's had lots of affairs and speaks terribly and wouldn't know a Bible if it hit him in the head, but attacked people like Mitt Romney as not being Christian. Not, and it seems like that coalition that Falwell developed in the 80s has broken, and I appreciate people like you and Richard Muau that are trying to kind of build this back up, but I don't see a lot of evangelicals wanting to embrace Mormons. They think Mormons are too weird. They don't, our Jesus is different than your Jesus, and I mean, to some degree, I guess that's true, but shouldn't there? I think there should be lots more of places where we agree than where we disagree, and I don't understand the animosity from certain evangelicals, and it bothers me. It bothers me a lot, and I will tell you, when you first reached out to me, I was a little bit nervous, but you're a nice guy, and so you know what? I'll give everybody a chance, and you're different. You're not Robert Jeffries, and God bless you. I do not like that guy at all, but there are too many like him.
I'm not a big fan of the guy. I mean, like I said, I'm just kind of my own person, and I recognize my past and where I come from and respect that. And I'm just I guess I'm still on a faith journey as well, but I'm also kind of there, like I've been through a lot, and maybe some of the stuff that I went through can be helpful to other people who are also going through their wrestling with God. And I think that's a healthy thing. And part of it is reaching out to people that are different from you and learning from them. Somebody went to me and says, well, as long as you're there to correct them. I said, no, I want them to correct me. Because I know that we have a lot of prejudices, and there's a lot of fear in the evangelical community. And I always tell people, fear is not from God. And if you're afraid and you're fearful of other people, you need to question where that fear is coming from, mm-hmm. and understand that God doesn't give us a spirit of fear. But if you're living in fear all the time, then you need to reassess and look in the mirror and quit pointing your fingers at the other. And then maybe you'll be able to start to grapple with God as well, and how it is to have a faith that's challenging, that is ultimately rewarding. And that's how you live in the Spirit, and that's how you can achieve the fruits of the Spirit, is by just trying to embrace the Spirit of Christ. So that's kind of a little spiritual part there, but
no, that's great.
and so I want to thank you so much for this, Rick. You were my first interviewee, I guess, and it's really meant a lot to me to be able to do this now. You will be among one of many. I've got already about 3 or 4 author interviews lined up. I was never expecting that Rick Bennett, the man that's been on my Roku television where I watch you on my 43-inch screen, and there's Rick Bennett now talking to me in my office here. It's been a real honor and a real privilege, Rick. And I'm going to leave links in the description to your website as mm-hmm. well as to your channel. And so please support Rick and everything that he's doing. He's doing a great job. It's really done a lot of good for me as well, and given me an education. Rick, before we wrap this up, was there anything you wanted to add?
No, I wish more evangelicals were like you. So I think there's a lot that we can do interfaith, and I wish that more of us would reach out to people we're scared of and talk to them. I think that's what Christ does. I think that's what Christ did. Christ reached out to the stranger, and we all need to treat each other as Christ did, and we'll be a better society. So,
well, amen to that. Well, folks, thank you very much for sitting through my first interview. Please like and subscribe. I definitely want to hear your comments, and let's take this journey together and have some fun. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thanks. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Steve Pynakker, evangelical host of Mormon Book Reviews. Now, it sounded like we were done with our conversation, but guess what? Steve and I got together again last Friday and had another one, so I want to tack it on to the end of this one. And we're going to talk a little bit about the Mormon historians community. We'll also talk about the death of Kurt Bench, the owner of Benchmark Books. One of the unsung heroes and one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. I mean, you just say Kurt Bench's name and a smile comes to your face because he's such a friendly guy. He's friendly to everybody. I don't know anybody that didn't like Kurt Bench. I mean, he's just, and you know, if you went to his bookstore and you'd say, hey, I'm looking on a book for this subject or this author, like he knew what you were talking about, and he would go right to the place and he'd like, I think this is what you want. And the knowledge that he had, so just so vast, because I mean, he's been doing his bookstores 25 years old, 30 years old, something like that. And plus he was at Deseret Book before that. The knowledge that we lost when Kurt Bench died is just, you know, I remember, what was his name? Darren Perry said when a Native American elder dies, he goes, a library burns. And that's kind of what it is to lose Kurt Bench. We've lost, and I think he's kind of an unsung hero. Like everybody knows him, but we've lost a giant in Mormon history. If you'd like to hear the entire interview uncut, please subscribe for just $5 a month at patreon.com/gospeltangents, and you can hear the entire interview before everybody else. If you'd like to watch the entire video for just $8 a month, you can either subscribe on YouTube, Patreon, or my website, gospeltangents.com. Just click the yellow subscribe button, and I'll add you to our Gospel Tangents Insiders group so that you can see entire videos. For those interested in a PDF transcript, you can subscribe at either Patreon or on my website. For just $10 a month, I'll send you a PDF as soon as it's complete. If you'd like a copy of the paperback as well as a PDF, just sign up for $20 a month at either Patreon or my website, gospeltangents.com. Of course, you can buy individual transcripts at amazon.com and just do a search for Gospel Tangents interview, and you can see all the things that we have there. Don't forget to support Gospel Tangents with an awesome t-shirt like one of these. You can subscribe at Apple Podcasts at tinyurl.com/gospeltangents. Get our latest updates at facebook.com/gospeltangents. Also, you can get our Twitter updates at Gospel Tangents. Click here to subscribe, here for a transcript, and over here we've got more of our great videos. Thanks again.